This is episode number 13 with Pat Divilly. Welcome to the Grow Podcast with myself, David O'Connor, where my goal is to interview world-class guests so you can constantly progress as a person in terms of your training, your mindset and nutrition. So without further ado, let's dive in. How are we keeping, guys? And a big welcome back to the Grow Podcast. And today I have my second ever guest back on the show today, Pat Divilly. And I wanted this to be an episode where we could literally dive in, you could tune in, listen to it, and go away with a concrete plan to set yourself a physical goal that you can get something from. So you'll see when we dive into that with Pat, we break it down into areas in a very, very kind of 4 to 5 step kind of format, if you like, that you start here and you work down to the blocks and you're kind of getting more detail as the blocks go on, until you're what you need to be doing every single day to get to the destination that you want. But as you'll see as well, it's not all about just setting a goal to and following that, and we'll get into that with Pat. So hopefully you'll enjoy this one and get the actual takeaways that we want you to get from it. So yeah, I'm going to welcome Pat back on the show. Pat, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks a million for having me again, Dave.
No problem, buddy. And I know we've been finding it hard to catch hold of each other. You're doing some jiu-jitsu in Portugal, I think it was last week.
Yeah, that was my latest adventure. So trying to move and do as many things as I can in as many places as I can. But that was the last little adventure, yeah.
Cool. And is that your main form of training now at the moment, Pat? I think I've seen you talking about climbing some stuff coming up soon, but is that your main training?
Yeah, I'll be telling people this, obviously what we preach is find something you enjoy and stick with that. And I suppose I grew up in gyms and I just lost interest in the gym because I'd done it for so long. And at this moment in time, I think my what I want to get out of life is travel and experience and meeting new people and sort of getting away from the hustle and bustle of work. And the mountaineering and the jiu-jitsu does that for me. I meet new people, I get to travel. I get that form of meditation where I don't think about anything else for the couple of hours when I'm training, and it's ticking the boxes for me now. So, yeah.
Excellent. I think if people go back, obviously, as well, I forgot to mention, obviously, you've been on the podcast before in episode 2 when I first launched it, and we talked about a lot of stuff around mindset, self-awareness, goal setting, that kind of stuff. And I think you're the same kind of principles behind what you want from it as well, in terms of like travel and meeting people. So it's cool to hear that again, and how you've kind of got more into the jiu-jitsu side of things too. It's cool. So yeah, so Pat, I suppose we were chatting in the background there just about what we want this episode to be, and kind of what I had in my head anyway was just a very, very practical go-to episode for setting yourself up to win 2018, I suppose, or just kind of get the most out of it and start people off in a proper foot. But as we said, we've already covered a lot of stuff last year in the last podcast. Obviously, perspectives might have changed around with that, but I don't think principles change, Pat, with anything. Well, they don't with anything. So I suppose just before we kind of go into the meat and bones and what people are going to take away, when we talk about goal setting or mindset, self-awareness, whatever kind of term we want to put on kind of the whole lot of it, maybe it's good to drive home the principles first so that at least people understand the foundation of what comes before setting an actual physical goal first.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, goal setting's just been a big part of my life. As long as I can remember, it just made sense to me that you would kind of take time out to figure out what you want. And the analogy I'll use is that you wouldn't drive around in your car not knowing where you're trying to go, because you'd just be wasting fuel, wasting energy, wasting time. But oftentimes we live like that. We get up and we're busy and we're hustle and bustle and we're running around the place and we're overwhelmed, but we're not actually sure where we're trying to go. You could get in the car and have a destination and you're going to use the same amount of fuel, same amount of time, but you're actually going where you want to go. So oftentimes just by having goals, it doesn't mean we have to work massively harder. It doesn't mean we have to invest all that much more energy. It's just focusing your energy in a particular direction, so that rather than trying to be a people pleaser and trying to do everything for everyone and trying to tick 1,000 boxes, you're kind of focused on a couple of different key areas. A couple of weeks ago, I went to a John Kavanagh seminar. John would be Conor McGregor's trainer. It was a jiu-jitsu seminar, and he said at the end that he gets called in to do motivational speaking now in different corporates because of the success of the gym. And he said, in his eyes, motivational speaking is bullshit because you can't motivate someone to do something they don't want to do. And the secret then to success is find what you like and stay consistent and have the grit to keep going even when it's difficult. And I'd mirror what he says and say, oftentimes we're trying to motivate ourselves to do things we're not really interested in, or we're not really passionate about, just to impress other people or to get validation or approval. So true goal setting is about, I think, taking time and taking space to figure out what really matters to you. And, you've got one life, and it's kind of refining. There's so many things you can do, and I think you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So that's kind of my thoughts around that, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I think it was late last year as well. I don't know what book I got it in, but you mentioned the car destination analogy there, and you're driving towards a destination. You're spending energy on the way to get there. One thing that I read around that is a very, very similar thing, but what people don't realise is they're already focused on something anyway. They're already driving to a destination, whether they realise it or not. So as you said, why not focus and direct your energy towards, we'll say, the destination that you do want. So again, I think that's a nice kind of buy-in for people to realise that, and to know that you're living your life anyway, and you're focusing your energy on certain things, you're focusing your thoughts on certain things. Why not just direct them and a bit more, kind of shift the focus a bit more for you?
There's certain universal laws that are there whether or not you believe in them. So we'll say gravity. If you walk off the edge of a building, even if you don't believe in gravity, you're going to fall. And one of the other laws is the law of attraction, or the law of action, which is about, like you say, wherever you're focusing that energy, you tend to move in that direction. So whether or not you believe it, it's happening. And I think it's worth just, it doesn't cost any money to kind of change your focus for 30 days and see what happens. And again, it could be as simple as write down 3 things you'd like to work on, and start seeing how that starts to manifest in your life. If you wrote down you wanted to go on holidays to Dubai, notice how the next time you go into town, you're probably going to see signs for flights with Emirates or whatever it is, So it's, we can only focus on a certain amount, but we're never taught, I suppose, in school how to focus on what we want. We're just kind of led to, I heard a good expression recently, and it said that, we need to stop listening to ourselves and start talking to ourselves. And the idea is that if you just, you don't tangibly think about what you want and you don't talk to yourself, you're just going to listen to the negativity and the stories that are there.
No, that's brilliant. Was it stop listening to ourselves and start talking? Is that what you said, Pat?
Yeah, so stop listening to ourselves, start talking to ourselves. If I'm out for a run and I start listening to myself, I'm probably going to hear, go home, chill out, sit on the couch, you deserve to relax, it's the weekend. I'm going to hear all these stories, because that's the kind of autopilot negative bias that we've got, where we always want comfort. But if we start talking to ourselves, and I start saying to myself on the run, I'm getting a little bit stronger every time I run, I'm feeling good, this is good for my mental health, whatever it is, the act of actually speaking to yourself is powerful.
Yeah. And would you, just based on what you're saying there, it's kind of coming into my head, would you say self-awareness then is an overriding principle of all this kind of stuff? Because, if you're sitting down, maybe you're at a stage in your life right, I've no focus on something with my job or X, Y, or Z, and you say, I want to set this goal. The fact that people are starting to think and focus on that a bit more, they're becoming more self-aware themselves anyway. So what they might figure out is, okay, I have to get help from this person and that person before I even worry about trying to that goal myself, because I can't get there. Or, there's so many other factors at play. Would I be right in saying that self-awareness could be the foundation of it all?
Yeah, I mean, I almost cringe when I get referred to as a life coach or a motivational speaker, because it's kind of, la-di-da, and people don't really, it's hard to trust those kind of terms, and they're just, I don't know. But what I am is I'm someone who's trying to advocate self-awareness, and self-awareness can come obviously through exercise, it can come through meditation, it can come from different things. But what I tell people is that, if you want a great relationship with anyone, you've got to spend time with them, you've got to be present with them, and you've got to, get to know them on a deeper level. And you flip that on its head and you say, if you want a great relationship with yourself, because you're only going to be there for yourself for the rest of your life, you got to spend time with yourself, and a lot of us don't do that. You got to get to know yourself on a deeper level, which could mean trying new things, tackling your fears, doing journaling to figure out what's a struggle for you and why you struggle in different areas. And you got to be present with yourself. So it's the same as, if you go out for lunch with someone and they're on their phone the whole time, it doesn't feel good. But we're always connected to technologies and stuff like that. So yeah, I encourage self-awareness. I encourage, improving your relationship with yourself, because when you do that, goals become possible, dreams become possible, confidence grows, fear starts to diminish a little bit. So really that's, I think that's key in all of this stuff. The degree to which you know yourself is everything. If you know yourself on a deep level, nothing anyone says to you can affect you because you know yourself. But if you don't know yourself, everything people say to you can rattle you. So if you get abuse online, or you get trolls, or you get critics, you get those kind of things, if you don't know who you are, and you don't know what you stand for, and you don't know what matters to you, that stuff can rattle you to the core. But if you figured out what's important, where you're trying to go, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, then that kind of external criticism or feedback doesn't rattle you in the same way.
Sure, when you're aware of it too, like, you know that you're going to get criticism by people thinking that, yeah, it's a woo-woo motivational speaker type thing. And even, sure, for myself in the past, if I heard the word goals, I'd fucking cringe myself. And as I've said in numerous podcasts as well before, we changed the word goals a lot in the gym here for our members to focus, because that's really all they're after at the end of the day. Like, so, kind of what am I getting at with that? I suppose it's the Irish mentality, again, coming back into things that people think that it's not going to work, and this is why we kind of, or that it's a lot of bullshit, if you like. But I think having this little chat beforehand to get people's brains flowing, because you don't hear this stuff every day. Like, you don't hear me yapping about it every day, or I'm not going to put this much of this stuff up on Instagram, for example, or that kind of stuff, because people don't really, it's not as attractive as a transformation picture. It's not as attractive as, you know, a fat loss tip that someone's going to go away and do straight away, because people don't think it's that important until they actually do it for themselves and get the end result from it all.
I think that's what, I think you see more and more fitness guys talking about mindset and moving into that area. I meet guys every day saying they're trainers and they want to do more mindset stuff. I think the reason that happens is because, people come in and they train in the gym and they start to consciously or subconsciously set goals. That's what they're doing. And then they're seeing the physical manifestation of having a goal. So suddenly I came to the gym, I promised myself I'd go 3 days a week. Here I am 2 months later, I'm 10 kilos lighter, I've got confidence, I feel secure in myself. And that triggers a light bulb that, wow, if I can do this with my health, I could probably do this in my career and my relationships. And I also think, if you're working in a job, your boss oftentimes gives you targets. That's a goal. It's just one that has been set by someone else for you. But sometimes we don't give ourselves the time and the credit to set our own goals. In school, we went after goals. We had targets. We had we had deadlines. But we need to put self-imposed deadlines and targets for ourselves, I think, to really move forward.
Yeah, like after the school years, when you start getting into late 20s and that kind of stuff as well, it all goes kind of by the wayside, and before you know it, you're probably in your 30s and you've kids and you're overweight and you're like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's from what we see anyway. And if someone's going that long without bothering to ever even look at the word goal setting or do anything further, it's kind of hard to flip that around. Like, so look, I suppose people are not gonna be bought into that much if they don't go away and fucking do it. Like, so that's what I want this episode to be fundamentally. So yeah, Pat, like, right, I'm listening to this podcast right now. I could be out for a run, I could be out for a walk, I could be in the car. What are you going to say to somebody to spur them on to, like, physically set something, and how are they going to actually make progress towards it? It's all well and good setting something, but yeah, how are we going to break it down to easy steps for ourselves?
Sure, I'll give a pretty simple framework. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly what we did on the last one, but my framework is break down a couple of areas that you're interested in improving. So the standard ones that I have are health, which is my physical, emotional, mental health, my sleep, my energy, etc. That would be my first area. I'd look at health. Second area is my relationship with myself. So that can be time to have hobbies. That can be my confidence, just how I feel about myself. Third one is relationships with other people. And my fourth one is my work. So those would be 4 example areas. You might pick finances. You might pick social life, whatever you want to pick. The first place to start is to get honest about where you currently are. I think that's oftentimes overlooked and forgotten about when it comes to goal setting. So you might have a business owner saying that they want to make $1 million a year, but they've no idea what they made the year before. Or you might have someone saying that their goal is to run a marathon, but they've never ran a 5K. These kind of things of having goals that aren't based on anything except for dreams and things in their head that they've thought, make sense on paper. So I think, I'll say, okay, health is my first area. Where am I currently on a scale of 1 to 10 with my health? I might say a 6. And then I'll detail what that looks like. So I might say I drink a lot of caffeine. I'm not very structured. I eat well during the week, but I go crazy on the weekends. I go to the gym, but I'm not very consistent. Or I go to the gym and I don't really have a routine. My sleep is poor. and I'm not very good at managing my stress. Now that might sound negative, but the idea there is that you get on paper exactly what the current situation is. And by doing that, and by facing the facts, the whole idea of the truth will set you free. By looking at that on paper, you've got a clear foundation of what the starting point is, and then you can build from there. So I can say, okay, that's my 6 out of 10. What would 10 out of 10 look like? So I might say 10 out of 10 looks like I'm much better at handling stress. I train 5 times a week. I relax on the weekends, but I eat really well during the week. Whatever it looks like to you. So it's completely different for everyone. That would be my starting point. So what are my current facts? And sometimes that could be painful. You know, for example, if it was someone in a relationship, they might say, my current facts are, I'm not present with my kids. I don't really have a good relationship with my kids. I don't know my kids. That might be their current reality. Now, if someone ignores that and closes their eyes to that and pretends that's not the case and is in denial, they can never move forward. But as soon as someone puts that on paper as the current reality, there's a chance then to move forward and say, what does 10 out of 10 look like? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
So I think that's forgotten about sometimes in goals. People tell you, go and set goals. And, you know, oftentimes I used to do that in my seminars. I'd say, right, guys, we're going to set 10 goals today. And there wasn't really a solid foundation because we didn't look at where they were starting from. So that's the starting point. Where are you now? Rank it on a scale of 1 to 10 is a simple way of doing it. Detail what that looks like in reality. Get as honest as you can with yourself. The more honest you are about where you are, the more honest you can be about where you're trying to go. But if you lie about where you are, then you're lying about your goals because they're not real. Then once you've kind of said what 10 out of 10 looks like, I'll take that kind of vision and put some tangible targets on it. So for example, I said there that maybe 6 out of 10 is I don't manage stress well. A 10 out of 10 would be I've got some great stress management techniques. Obviously that's not tangible. So then my target might be that over the next 12 weeks, I'm going to go to 12 group meditation classes. Or, you know, you come up with different ways of making it a game almost that you can rank yourself. Did it happen or did it not? Yeah. And I think similar to what you do, I like to do the 90-day block, which is 12 weeks. And what I'm trying to do in 12 weeks is accomplish what most people would accomplish in 12 months by being focused. And again, I make it a game. So I might say with my health, my goal over the next 12 weeks is to do 90 hours of jiu-jitsu. So that's 1 hour a day. My goal is to drink 2 liters of water a day every day for the next 90 days. And I might have a third one. So I keep it simple. I don't take too many goals on. And then I work backward. So to achieve that in 90 days, where do I need to be on day 60 and day 30? 60 and 30 times. So a month from now, I need to be 30 hours of jiu-jitsu done. 2 months from now, I need 60 hours of jiu-jitsu. 3 months from now, I need 90 hours of jiu-jitsu. And then I'll work backward again and I'll say, here's what needs to happen each week. And then on a Sunday, I'll kind of plan the week. So that's that's an overhead. I don't know if you want specifics or how that sounds.
No, it's brilliant. Like just going back to number 1, Pat, I'm not going to go sidetrack and say this is what we do because it'll take away from the podcast, but everything you've explained is exactly what we do, but I might just do it different ways. So where are you first? We do the same thing. It's kind of getting real at where you're at. Number 2, the tangible targets. Yeah, just have something you can actually measure and be specific of, or even not measure, but like what are you going to tick the box on, as you said. Yeah. The health goals are the easiest to explain to people because if it's you explain there your jiu-jitsu goal, I would break it down further into saying that's a performance goal, and then I'd have like a body composition goal. So like physically, how do you want to look, feel, and perform, and then the performance thing is kind of separate, like more fitnessy style. Working back from 60 and 30, yeah, again, every 90-day block, it's what's the end result, and you're just breaking it down to smaller chunks. And I think one of the key things that people don't realise, Pat, is sitting down on a Sunday and planning your week ahead, which is a part of your 90-day block week. That's all it is. It's very, very simple. It's reverse engineering where you want to go. So maybe, Pat, like you mentioned how you break it down into 4 main categories. You have health, you have relationship with yourself, and your relationship with family and friends, and you have work. So that's 4 categories. We have the same stuff. We break it into 3. So how would you do work, for example? Let's just break down a work goal, for example. Just kind of make it a bit more concrete in your head, in people's heads. And we might even go back to a fitness one again, and we might talk about weight loss or something.
Sure. Well, part of this, I would say, it's very individual and it'll change over time. So, for me, a year or 2 ago, my work goals probably were based around finances. And then as I got busier and I would have specific financial targets, or I'd have specific numbers as the amount of people I wanted to reach, or I'd have specific targets like I want to write a book or whatever it was. This year, my goals are different. So this will just give you an idea that they don't have to look a certain way. One of my work goals this year is to get it completely offline 2 days a week. So no phone, no laptop, 2 days a week, and have the business make more money, or as much money as it has done while I'm online all the time. And that's kind of, I suppose, to address a limiting belief that you can't make money unless you're online all the time, or you can't make money in the modern world unless you're accessible a lot and stuff like that. So that would be a target for me. But again, that comes from looking at the current reality and saying, right, where am I currently with my work? My current work situation is I work too much. So, that's why that's why getting honest about where you are is so important, because if you don't look at that part, chances are you're just going to run down the rabbit hole of, I want to get fitter, I want to get richer, I want to, whatever it is. But another example with health, when I look at my health facts, one of my poorest areas in health is my mobility. And so that comes up when I look at targets. And so I'll have a goal of, right, I'm going to do yoga 3 times a week for the next 12 weeks. If I hadn't looked at my current reality, I would have just gone down the rabbit hole of, I'm doing jiu-jitsu, so I'll just do more jiu-jitsu. So getting clear about your current reality can expose some of the weaker areas that might be holding you back and might be a bottleneck. So again, work could be a financial goal. It could be more time off. It could be a lifestyle goal. It could be an output goal. It doesn't have to look a certain way. Like you say, health could be a body composition goal. It could be focusing on mobility, focusing on strength, focusing on doing your first marathon. It could be looking at your mental health. It could be getting into meditation. So it's all very dependent on you as a person. And I think that looking at that first part of where am I now is what opens up possibilities. The self thing, looking at your relationship with self, one of my goals in that in recent times was breath work daily. So I did the Wim Hof breathing, and that was to help me manage anxiety. It was to help me become more present. It was just a daily practice of self-care. So that would be an example there. I did an acting course, a 6-week acting course, 20 hours of acting in 6 weeks. That was another self goal. So, they don't need to look a certain way. I just do it based on what's working, what's not working at the moment, and how can I improve.
Yeah, and I suppose the outcome of those goals, as you said, was to achieve a specific result, like you were saying for the breathing, was to reduce anxiety. And the acting goal, was that the same thing? Was it more just get confidence in speaking, or was it
Yeah, the acting was just something I always kind of wanted to do, but I never had the confidence to do, and I just thought it'd be fun. And I think something I haven't touched on, or we haven't kind of touched on, is I've become more aware of who I am on the journey toward getting to the goal. So what I mean by that is, oftentimes in the past I've had goals and I've been so obsessed by getting to the goal that I don't care about anything else. Whereas I feel like now, if you've got a 90-day goal and you're going to be miserable for 90 days, or you're just going to be not present, just obsessed and focused on that for 90 days, thinking you're going to be happy when you arrive, it's probably not going to happen. So I'm more interested now in who am I along the journey? Like, who can I be along the 90 days to get into my goal? And one of the big themes that I want to bring into my life more and more is playfulness, in the sense of not taking myself too seriously, not taking anything too seriously, and just having fun with life. And acting was one of those things. It was like, it made me nervous because I have to act like an idiot, and I have to take on different characters, and I have to look silly in front of people. And I kind of recognize, right, if I do that as a goal, that's going to take me outside my comfort zone. It's going to teach me to be more playful. It's going to make being playful in day-to-day life easier. So again, that was kind of a personal thing. And it was one of the best things I've done in years.
Nice. So, like, you did get the end result from it that you wanted.
Yeah, 100%. And loads of stuff that I didn't even, sometimes you don't know what you're going to get from things. You can't, it's made me a better storyteller on stage when I'm doing my public speaking. I met some new people. It took me back to being brand new at something and being scared, the same way people are probably scared coming to my seminars. It was just fun. And again, it was kind of like this idea of being in flow, of just doing something where time disappears and you're just having fun with something. You're not thinking about anything else. So coming back to your question about the work goal, again, that acting thing probably came under a work goal in a way, because it's improved my work and it helped me to switch off, and it helped me to not be working as much as I was. It was something outside of my work. It was a relationship with myself.
Excellent. The journey, Pat, though, you're dead right. I'm going to use the example of Doc Fitness. It's easy to do, but again, if somebody joins here, we could easily be a very, very strict training place where the nutrition is super strict, the training is super strict, it gets you the most incredible results, but what good is that to anyone if they're not going to fucking enjoy themselves along the way and meet new people, have some crack, do some social events outside the gym, educate themselves a bit more on this and this. Do you know, it really is the day-to-day of it that matters with certain things, with everything really, to be honest. If you can't find fulfillment and enjoyment in what you're doing, I think something needs to change slightly at least. It doesn't mean you have to kind of quit your job and do X, Y, and Z, but some aspect of that has to change in order for you to get enjoyment out of that fact and be actually genuinely happy at the end of a week, and not be just longing for X, Y, and Z to come because you think it's going to be happier when you get there.
Yeah. Here's a quick little tip for people. When we think about our goals, I don't know if I said this on the last podcast, but when we think about our goals, every goal that we're going after, really what we're looking for is a feeling, or a multitude of feelings. So someone that wants to lose weight, it's not really about the scales, it's about how they think they're going to feel when they step on the scales and see a certain number. So I'd encourage people, when you look at your goals, when you look at the things you think you want, ask what is the feeling that you're looking for. So maybe it's confidence, maybe it's being secure, maybe it's being playful, maybe it's being happy, maybe it's being kind, whatever the feelings are. And ask yourself, how can I bring 5% more of that feeling out from day one? So if my goal is, right, I want to run a marathon 6 months from now because it's going to make me feel confident, I'll start to ask myself, how can I be 5% more confident today? Because that's what you're looking for. You're not really looking for the medal. You think you are, but you're looking for the growth along the way toward doing that marathon. That's something I've been encouraging people to do. So again, with the acting thing for me, it was about, I wanted to become more playful. And I have an alarm that goes off on my phone every day and says playful. It goes off at random times. I just have the word playful. And it reminds me, amongst all the goals, amongst all the busyness, amongst all the work, the hustle, the bustle, the family, the friends, everything else in my life that's going on, I want to be playful. And by being playful, I improve my relationships, I improve my work, my sense of self, all these different areas. So if people think about the goal they want, think about the feeling that goal is going to give them, and then think about, those emotions. Again, confidence will be a good example. Start to think about every day, how can I bring a bit more confidence to my work? How can I bring a bit more confidence to my health? How can I bring a bit more confidence in different areas? And that can really make the process more enjoyable.
Oh, dead right. Yeah, I think a lot of memories are coming back from last year's podcast as well. We're repeating a lot of the same stuff, but it's a good sign because it's showing that this stuff doesn't really change. It's just, obviously you're giving your life examples and different little tidbits along the way, but the principles are not really going to change. And I know that because I do this myself, the coaches do it, we get our clients to do it, and again, they see the benefits from things and everyone tweaks it to suit them. So just to kind of recap again, Pat, on what exactly we want this podcast to be. So we want it to be a physical go away, write down this goal, X, Y, and Z. So we'll call it step 1. You have, we'll say, your areas. We'll just say step 1 is your areas. Okay, it's just being aware of your areas. So you have your health, you have, we'll call it personal self, relationships, and the last one, work. So that's step 1. Step 2 is, where are you? And rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of those areas. And could they break them down, Pat, into sub areas within those areas as detailed as they want, or would you say for the step 2, rating themselves, to keep it kind of broadish first?
Yes, two things I'll say on it. One is, with all of this, I think it's very important that you give yourself enough time. So, like I say, in seminars I used to get people write down all their goals. Now I recognize that by doing that, forcing people to write their goals in the space of an hour or whatever it was, oftentimes you just end up writing things from the past that you've done in the past, or stuff that you see around you. You don't really think about what you want. So it's very important with this that people take an hour or two and just do it distraction free and give yourself the space. Like if I tell you write down 3 health goals and you take 5 minutes to do it, you're probably going to write down lose a couple of kilos, do a marathon, whatever it is. You haven't thought about it. But if you take an hour, chances are you're going to get to something that really excites you and really is what you really want. So that'll be the first bit. The second bit I'll say, in terms of subcategories, one of the biggest mistakes I make personally, and I think most people make, is they try to do too much. They try to have too many different goals, too many different targets, and they end up missing all the targets. There's a fun little demo you can do on stage with this to show people, and it's that you get people to juggle 10 balls at once, and obviously it doesn't happen, but then you get them with one or two and it's easy. So the thinking there is, with each of those areas, health, self, relationships, career, I would do 2 goals max in each area. Now you can have sub goals that tie into them, but try to keep it as simple as possible for yourself. That would be. So health you might say, like you say, performance-based goal is to, snatch 100 kilos. Body composition goal is to get to 80 kilos, 10% body fat. I would keep it as simple as that. Now you're going to have a process that comes under both those goals, and you're going to have little targets along the way you're going to have to meet to get there, but I wouldn't make it any more complicated than that.
Okay, so step 1 is your area, step 2 is picking 2 sub goals max. Your recommend. Yeah, I think even when I look back at my own stuff, it's probably the same. Like I'll have, for health, I'll have a body comp goal, which is body fat. But then if I don't want to lose weight, if I don't want to gain weight or that kind of stuff, I'll just focus more on my nutrition for the performance. So you'll have body comp and you'll have a performance goal. For personal, if you like, it's just to kind of personally grow me. It could be simple as reading X amount of books to get a specific result from those books. The family stuff as well. It could be just contacting, family members you haven't in a while, or setting that in your weekly schedule thing to do. And work is kind of similar as well. So I barely even go down to 2 sub goals in that. So it's just kind of get the brain flowing for people while they're listening to this in their ears. Like, so, step 3 then, you mentioned the word processes. So obviously they need to break that down then into a block. We're talking about 90-day blocks here. So we'll just call step 3 the 90-day block, if you like.
Yeah, so I suppose look at the outcome you want. The fastest way of getting there is to figure out someone who's done it and look at what they did. So, if you want to, if you want to drop 20 kilos, obviously you go to a trainer, or you go to whatever it is. It might even be a slimming club, or whatever way you choose to do it. But find someone who's done it, or someone who's helped other people do it. Personal trainer is a simple example. Obviously I went to an acting coach when I wanted to learn how to act. Take away the guesswork. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Find someone who's going to help you get there faster. And the process is, figure out what you need to do on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
Exactly, yeah. I suppose step 3, the 90-day block, that's, a lot of people are not going to be sure of how much weight they could lose in that 90-day block, or what kind of performance outcomes they could have. So get on to somebody who's going to help you with that. The last one then, processes, it's reverse engineering. Pat, you mentioned where you need to be in 60 days, where you need to be in 30 days, what needs to be done each week, and then plan your weeks on a Sunday. That's kind of it really. Like, if you have anything else to add there, Pat, like that's the, we'll say, 4 or 5 steps? That's the 4 to 5 steps to kind of doing that. What about I just said it, reviewing it at the end of a block. So let's just say you finish your jiu-jitsu and now you've won your competition or whatever you might have done for yourself, Pat.
Again, it's a case of being honest with yourself. What worked and what didn't work. If you set too many goals this time around and spread yourself too thin, which I've definitely done loads of times, try to do a million different things, thinking this time it's going to be different. This time I'm focused and I'm going to be able to do X, Y, Z and everything else. If that's been the case in the past, then it's going to be the case again. So I think, if you struggle to hit your targets, maybe you overshot them a little bit. If your targets didn't stretch you enough, then maybe, but it's funny with the jiu-jitsu. I started the jiu-jitsu about 1.5 years ago, and with it you learn that if you train with guys that are training for years, you're going to get frustrated and you're not going to want to go back because they're so far ahead of you. You feel like it's a losing battle. If you train with people the same level as you, you're not going to get much better because you're just too blind leading the blind. But if you train with someone slightly better than you, that stretches you. And I think that's what we need to be doing with our goals, is just stretching ourselves that extra bit. So you're not going too far ahead. You're not staying too comfortable. You're stretching yourself a bit. So that's always my intention. I'll review just by saying, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. And then I'll look back on, okay, so I was a 6 out of 10. Someone asked before, what happens when you get to 10 out of 10 in all areas? I don't think that happens because your goals change all the time. And, maybe you get your 80 kilo snatch and you get your 100 kilo snatch and you reach 80 kilos. And then you notice that, okay, well, I'm a bit burnt out because I'm training a lot. So maybe I need to do some restorative health. So I just reflect upon it. I celebrate the wins and, I get honest about what worked and what didn't work. And then I reassess. One of the reasons I don't like 5-year business plans or any of that kind of stuff is because with this kind of focus, you can achieve so much in 3 months that you'll be a different person in 3 months. And there's no point setting goals for 6 months, because 3 months from now, you'll be a different person. Your outcomes will be different. Your perspective will be different, and your possibilities will be different.
It's straightforward, really, when you break it down to that simplistic way. But I think the review part of it is a critical process of it, no matter if things went well or didn't go well. Yeah, is there anything more to add, Pat, on top of all that, do you think?
I would encourage people, like, if there was, I mean, hopefully there's loads in this for people, but if there was one thing that I'm a fan of in recent times, it is this idea of who you are on the journey is so important. So if you've got a smartphone, stick an alarm in the phone that goes off once a day with 3 words that describe you at your best. So mine are playful, confident, and inspiring. And again, I can be stressed, I can be anxious, I can be overwhelmed, I can be lots of different things. But when my alarm goes off, it just reminds me, life is short, come back to being playful, confident, and inspiring. And it doesn't make everything perfect, it doesn't make everything easy. But again, I ask myself, right, I'm going to go do a presentation and I'm nervous. What if I was playful, confident, and inspiring? What would it look like? Or if I'm fighting with my partner, what would this look like if I was more playful, confident, and inspiring? And I they're my words. They don't need to be your words. But think about 3 traits that you either admire in other people or you see in yourself when you're at your best, and stick them in your phone, have it as an alarm. Maybe even write them down and have them on your mirror or on your bed. And that would be the one thing I would encourage people to do. It's one thing going after goals. It's great to tick them off the list. It's great to achieve things you want to achieve. But who you are is more important than what you do.
Yeah, I think you've probably found that over time you've tried different things like that, but this one seems to work for you. Would I be right in saying that? The alarm thing.
Yeah, it's funny because, I'll be honest, some of that stuff, I'm definitely not a skeptic, but I'm probably somewhat cynical to some of the popular psychology stuff, the self-help stuff, all that, because I've read it for years. And there was times in the past where I kind of dismissed that type of thing. I didn't think it was powerful, but I went to a sports psychologist a couple of months ago, and she had me do, had me writing down words that was me at my best, just to remind me of who I am and stuff like that. And I've found it really powerful. And again, look, it's a free resource that you can use. It doesn't cost anything. So I don't see the point in being skeptical. My thing would just be try it for 30 days. I tried it for 30 days. It worked. It helped. And, I'll keep doing it. And then the other thing I touched on at the start of the podcast was stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. That's another important one. But that's one way of doing it is, when I listen to myself, I've got self-doubt, I've got fear, I judge myself, I beat myself up. When I talk to myself, and one of the ways I talk to myself is my alarm goes off, it says I'm playful, confident, and inspiring, and I remind myself of that. It makes everything easier.
Yeah, it's really what you're doing there. It's an affirmation, isn't it?
100%, yeah, 100%. But the thing with affirmations, people forget, sometimes people just say these things again and again and again, but they don't practice it. So my thing will be, if your affirmation is I am kind and generous, you say the thing, I am kind and generous, and then you think about how can I do one act of kindness and generosity in the next, before the end of the day, I suppose, and that becomes real then.
Yeah, like I've tried a lot of that stuff myself in the past, to be honest. From all the books I've read and kind of seminars I've been to myself as well, you're always going to get these little kind of takeaways to kind of reinforce X, Y, and Z, but I just always found, what worked for me at the end of the day. And I think one of the biggest things for me is just, it's starting the day off with depositing something into your personal bank account for yourself. So that could be training. For me, a big one for me actually is just getting a small little walk in the morning. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, but it's just something for me to kind of clear my head and get ready for the day. And I know some people say they might meditate in the morning, that kind of stuff, but that to me is my meditation, and you're giving that example there of the alarm thing, there's affirmations. You're going to, if people look into this stuff, they'll hear loads of different methods and ways for doing X, Y, and Z, but you need to find what works for you and just try that, and see how it goes for, as you said, 30 days, and then go from there.
Yeah, exactly. Be open, try different things. If it works, keep it. If it doesn't work, dismiss it, and just learn from people that, you respect or you admire, and keep trying things.
Excellent. No, Pat, I'm not gonna waffle on anymore about not waffle. It's proper stuff. But the step 1 to 5, if you like. Hopefully, people are able to go away now and use that to go away and set a goal for themselves and see how they get on with it. But one last thing, Pat, I wanted to ask you, because I've been intrigued by it before, is the whole breathing thing and the jumping into fucking ice baths. How did that get on, or what was that like?
Yeah, it was great. So Wim Hof is you probably follow Wim. He's the Iceman. He's climbed loads of mountains in his shorts and stuff like that. And I had done his online breathing course again to kind of handle anxiety and it was a form of, like we talk about trying different things. For me, I struggle with normal meditation, but I can do the breath work that works well for me. So it's a way of becoming, coming into the present moment and getting out of my head. And, I went out to Poland, spent a week with Wim. That was a week of ice baths and breath work every day. And, look, I really enjoyed it. For me, it was about learning how to be calm when everything around you is stressful. So you get into freezing cold water or sub-freezing cold water, and everything in your body is telling you to get out, but you focus on your breath and you really get into the present moment, and you're okay. And it reminded me that, no matter how stressed I get in life, no matter what happens to me, if I breathe and I focus on the present, I can get through it. So that was kind of my take on it. It's incredible stuff. They're doing a lot of research on the different medical conditions that the breathing is helping. And it's something we just don't think about. We think about the foods we eat, we think about training, we think about hydration, but breath is the most important thing above all those things. So, I had a great week out there.
And is that what it's kind of for? Like, is it aimed at what you said, kind of staying present amongst all the chaos? Is that what it's kind of about? Is that what he sells it for? I would say, because I know of him, but I just don't know that much into it. Would say
no. There's so many different aspects to it. His wife, about 30 years ago, his wife committed suicide, and she had been on a lot of different antidepressants and had multiple personality disorder, I think it was, and he was obviously struggling and suffering after that happened, and he got in the cold, and it was the first thing that made him feel connected, or whatever way you want to put it. But rheumatoid arthritis, all sorts of physical and mental conditions. They're doing research all over the world. He's shown that he can control his autonomic nervous system, and so too can anyone that does the breath work. So, supposedly this was the part of the nervous system that's just automatic and we don't have any control over, but he's shown he can control his immune system. I'd encourage people to have a look if they get a chance. Wim Hof on YouTube, there's a Vice documentary. It's about 40 minutes long that'll really show you the difference he's making and the stuff he's doing.
Excellent, and if you've anything else to add, let me know. I can throw it in the show notes. But Pat, have you any upcoming seminars? I know you do, so maybe this is your chance to let people know if they want to tag along.
The next couple of days I'm going to be putting up full details and tickets and stuff like that, but we're doing 4 seminars in April, Belfast, Galway, Dublin and Cork. For the time being, if people just drop me an email, support@patdivilly.com. It's a full day workshop. There'll be some of the breath work in there, as well as the self-awareness, personal development stuff. And should be great days.
Ice baths as well?
Possibly.
What was the one last thing? Oh, yes. So this time last year, Pat, as well, I asked you what was your biggest lesson from 2016. So I'm going to flip that on its head. What was the biggest lesson from 2017 for you? You probably already said it.
I would say remove expectations. Did I say that last week?
No, I haven't. The reason why I said nice straight away is because I've been actually chatting to a few friends about this lately, and even a few of our members, to expect less overall, and just from specific situations, and you can apply that to any area of life, I think, anyway.
Yeah, well, I found with, relationships or family or friends and stuff like that, most of the stress comes from you expecting them to be a certain way and they don't fit into that box. And so you kind of, it's actually quite, harsh to expect people to be a certain way, because we all are different, and we can catch ourselves doing that. But then on the flip side, for ourselves, oftentimes we expect ourselves to be perfect. So we expect, we label ourselves good if we do our meditation and our journaling and our goal setting and everything else. And then we've got that expectation on ourselves that we're supposed to do all those things, and then if we don't, we feel bad. So just being a bit more compassionate with other people and ourselves, and accepting things as they are, it makes for a lot less stress.
Yeah, dead right. It's like when you expect a soccer team to win, they don't, you're pissed off. It's kind of easiest analogy I use to describe it to people. But I actually never thought, Pat, flipping it on your head to say for yourself, because yeah, you can easily get caught in the trap of beating yourself up if you don't do X, Y, and Z, because you're expecting maybe a bit more than what you're capable of for that point in time. No, I like that. That's brilliant.
It's a bit like, if a parent expects their kids to tidy up the house all the time and then they get annoyed because they don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same with us. We expect ourselves to be perfect diet all the time, and then if we don't, we judge ourselves. So yeah.
Excellent. Mr. Divilly, thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Yeah, that has been fantastic. We will definitely have you on in the future. Anyway, we might put a different spin the next podcast because we're going to end up with 3 podcast episodes, the same kind of spin them. So nice. Until then, Pat, good luck with your jiu-jitsu, and I'll pop everything up in the show notes, and best of luck with the seminars. We'll chat to you soon.
Thanks, dude.
So guys, hopefully there's a takeaway or two for you in there, and I suppose the best tip I have taken away from all that is just to go away and re-listen to that section again, where maybe even the section where I'm recapping what the steps are, because you'll have to press play and pause it as you're doing it, and as Pat said, you need the time right to do this. We do seminars here in the gym for our private members, and even though that seminar might be half an hour to an hour to 90 minutes long, depending on what way we're kind of approaching it, we still only touch on the basics in that seminar, and the members know that they need to go away and properly sit down and do that themselves properly in their own time, because you know yourself, when you sit down and give it something the time it needs, you'll just get more from it. So I suppose one thing that I've lacked on as well in these podcasts is asking for an actual review on iTunes and Stitcher and that kind of stuff, because it's reviews that actually help get the podcast out there and people sharing it and whatnot as well. So there's always a link, and you'll see it in the show notes page. It'll just literally say leave a review on iTunes, or if you're listening to this in Stitcher, leave a review there for me, please. I will be ever so grateful. And if you do leave a review there as well, send me an email to let me know that you've left a review, and I might have a little goodie for you over there. But otherwise, as I say in all the podcasts, if you want to get on my weekly email list where I send out a couple of emails a week based on just kind of, some are motivational based, some are nutritional based, training based, and I do a weekly roundup email sending out all the latest content for that week. The link for that will be on the show notes page as well. So thank you again for tuning in, and we shall chat to you soon. Bye bye.